This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Former President Donald Trump back on a social media site that he once frequented.
I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Ukraine says forces now control nearly 400 square miles of a Russian region. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
An earthquake was strongly felt from the Los Angeles area all the way to San Diego on the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm Norman Hall.
In a move that could have national implications, RFK Jr. denied a place on New York ballots for the upcoming election. I'm Jeff McKay.
North Dakota voters will decide again whether to legalize recreational marijuana in the November general election. I'm Julie Walker.
On Wall Street, a mixed and lackluster day for stocks yesterday, but we get the new inflation data this morning. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
All ahead on America in the Morning. As presidential campaigning intensifies, former President Trump is back on X, formerly known as Twitter. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports his scheduled interview with Elon Musk started later than planned because of a purported computer hack on the platform.
The former president joined the owner of X, Elon Musk, on the platform last night for a one-on-one interview. He spoke in detail about the assassination attempt against him last month.
You know, I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down, so I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive. Trump
spoke about faith.
For those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle. And all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great.
He spoke about the failures of the Secret Service to allow a gunman on a nearby roof.
They're going to learn from this.
He had criticism, but some praise.
They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now, there was a lack of coordination. There was, obviously everybody understands that that building should have been covered.
The conversation on X last night was delayed because of technical issues, but later launched for millions to hear live. Musk pointed to a potential hack, which followed news of Trump claiming his campaign was hacked over the weekend by Iran. This on the same day the former president alleged political persecution and threatened to sue the DOJ for $100 million related to the classified documents case against him that was dropped last month. News also breaking this week that an ad launch is coming. A pro-Trump super PAC called MAGA Inc. planning a $100 million TV ad blitz leading up to Labor Day. I'm Clayton Neville.
Heightened alert on the war between Ukraine and Russia, where the first time since World War II an army has advanced inside Russia. Ukrainian troops now control a large swath of the Kursk region that borders Ukraine following their ground offensive that caught Russia's military by surprise. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports Russian President Vladimir Putin has ordered troops to repel the Ukrainian forces after videos of Ukraine's soldiers taking down Russian flags and replacing them with the Ukrainian flags surfaced. Many observers believe the advances by Ukraine appear to be a game changer in the more than two-year-old war.
Ukraine's top military commander says his forces now control nearly 400 square miles of a Russian region after a lightning incursion that has embarrassed Moscow. The remarks during a briefing for President Volodymyr Zelensky marked the first time a Ukrainian military official publicly commented on gains in the Kursk region. Russian forces are still scrambling to respond to the stunning attack that started last week, the biggest on their soil since World War II. Vladimir Putin says the incursion appears both aimed at boosting Kyiv's negotiating position in possible talks to end the war and blunting Russia's offensive in eastern Ukraine. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Southern California earthquake shakes people from Los Angeles to San Diego, swaying buildings and knocking items off store shelves, but appears to have only caused minimal damage. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
An earthquake with a magnitude of 4.4 was strongly felt from the Los Angeles area all the way to San Diego on the U.S.-Mexico border. It swayed buildings, rattled dishes, and set off car alarms, but no major damage or injuries have been reported. The U.S. Geological Survey says the quake was centered near the Los Angeles neighborhood of Highland Park, about 6.5 miles northeast of Los Angeles' City Hall, and about 7.5 miles below the surface. The quake was felt from greater Los Angeles south to San Diego and east to the Palm Springs desert region. I'm Norman Hall.
When we return on America in the Morning, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. struggling to make the ballot after these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. In weather, the song remains the same. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy with the forecast.
For the third day in a row, we are turning to the Plains states for severe weather. There is a weak area of low pressure moving out of the northern Rockies today into tonight, and these storms will get underway in northern Wyoming into eastern Montana and then move eastward into North and South Dakota into western Nebraska. The risk with these storms will be mainly damaging winds, but there could also be some flash flooding. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms will develop farther south through the Four Corners area and westward through portions of central and western Montana into Idaho. And there will also be some showers and thunderstorms first thing this morning over eastern Kansas into Missouri from another system moving eastward through that area. Overall, it will be a comfortable day through the Central Plains with afternoon highs in the 70s and 80s, but the heat is starting to build back into the area from the south and west. Highs in the 90s and 100s will return to portions of Oklahoma and southern Kansas today, with parts of eastern Montana. It will remain seasonably hot through Texas, eastward along the Gulf Coast states with highs in the 90s and 100s. There will also be a few thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast from Texas to Florida, possibly some gusty ones in South Texas. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop again in the Carolinas into northeast Georgia and southern Virginia along a nearly stationary front in that area. And the northeast will also have a few showers developing mainly in the afternoon from northeast Ohio into northern Pennsylvania and then continuing into northern New England. That's the weather across America. Sarasota, Florida will be seasonably warm and humid with a thunderstorm around in the afternoon and a high of 92. Williston, North Dakota will have a mixture of clouds and sun and a gusty thunderstorm in the afternoon and a high of 86. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. A judge has ruled that independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been disqualified from appearing on New York's general election ballot. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay has more on the story.
Judge Christina Ribba ruled that Kennedy's claim of a New York address as what he called his place of residence was what she called a false statement. The judge concluding he had no plans to move back to the Empire State and said he only listed the location for political gain. Her ruling bars Kennedy from the New York ballot. Kennedy testified in court he had considered New York his home since childhood and intended to return. He explained that he temporarily moved to California in 2014 to live with his wife and that he is currently renting a room at a woman's home in New York. Kennedy told the court he's registered to vote in New York. New York has been his primary residence since 1964. He pays taxes in New York. He has a New York driver's license, and his legal license and law practice are also located in the Empire State. Kennedy released a statement saying, quote, "Democrats are showing contempt for democracy." He also said he plans to appeal the judge's decision, which could potentially spark challenges in other states where he used a New York suburban address to collect signatures. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
President, Vice President, Congress, and mayors, there will be a number of options on ballots in November. As correspondent Julie Walker reports, there'll also be issues. And in North Dakota, that includes allowing residents to consider legalizing marijuana.
The Secretary of State's office says the ballot initiative from the group New Economic Frontier that would legalize recreational marijuana earned enough signatures. Voters rejected previous measures in 2018 and 2022. In 2021, the Republican-led State House of Representatives passed bills to legalize and tax recreational marijuana, but the GOP majority Senate defeated them. 24 states, most recently Ohio last year, have legalized recreational marijuana. I'm Julie Walker.
When we return, Disney, the new bad guy, after these messages. America in the Morning is back. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments takes a disciplined approach with investing, helping clients navigate volatile markets. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. At 20 after, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning with a new inflation report before the bell. Yesterday, stocks were mixed and the Dow had its first down day in 3. Gold closed at a fresh record high, $2,504 an ounce. It's up 20% so far this year. Oil also ticking higher as tension rises in the Middle East. U.S. crude oil topping $80 a barrel for the first time in about 3 weeks. The 3-year inflation outlook has hit a record low as Americans feel better about the direction of the economy. The New York Fed survey of consumer expectations put the inflation outlook at 2.3%. But that's a forecast. We get real inflation data for July with the Consumer Price Index this morning. Overall, it's expected to tick slightly higher, but the core number is forecast to come down.
Looking at the upcoming data here, the CPI seen firming, but not a bad number, 0.2 year over year from 0.1 in the prior month. The core going up by 0.1 to 0.2%. So the monthly CPI numbers are expected to bring the year over year rates to 3% for the headline and 3.2% for the core. It remains high by Fed standards, but the core would fall 0.1, moving slowly in the right direction.
CNBC senior economics reporter Steve Leisman. The Biden administration out with a new time is money plan to make it easier for you to get refunds and cancel subscriptions. They're saying it's not fair that you can sign up for a subscription with 1 or 2 clicks, but to cancel, some companies make you jump through time-consuming hoops.
What's this about the bad guys at Disney?
Yeah, Disney will focus on the bad guys with a new Villains Land coming to the Magic Kingdom. And even though consumers are pulling back from Disney theme parks, Disney doesn't think that's going to last.
Among the highlights from this weekend's D23 Expo, we've got a Monsters, Inc. inspired land at Hollywood Studios and new Indiana Jones and Encanto rides in California. The weekend unveil comes just days after Disney reported a slowdown in its parks division, one it expects will last for at least several more quarters.
CNBC's Silvana Hanau. On today's watch list, earnings are coming from a biggie, Home Depot. That'll give investors a snapshot of how the consumer is doing. Boeing releases its monthly orders and deliveries today, but the company's been struggling. Not much is expected. Google will host its Made by Google annual Pixel hardware event. Look for phones and watches. McDonald's today, trying to lure in consumers with a new collector's meal. You eat the meal, but the cup that comes with it may be worth money someday. They feature nostalgic brands, Barbie, Hot Wheels, Beanie Babies, Hello Kitty, and more.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, arrest made in Colorado election scandal. After these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. A former Colorado government clerk was found guilty of charges in a case involving allowing someone unauthorized access to the state's voting records system because she questioned the results of the 2020 election. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer reports.
Former Colorado clerk Tina Peters The first local election official to be charged with a security breach after the 2020 election amid unfounded conspiracy theories has been found guilty by a jury on most of the charges that she faced. Peters was accused of using someone else's security badge to give an expert affiliated with MyPillow chief executive access to the system and deceiving others about his identity. Prosecutors say she was seeking fame and became fixated on alleged voting problems. Peters was acquitted on 3 charges related to using the security badge without the owner's permission. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The 2024 Summer Olympics have come to an end in Paris. The torch is now lit again and will head to Los Angeles for the 2028 Games. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports that the City of Angels, who just went through a 4.5 magnitude earthquake yesterday, will host the Games for a 3rd time.
The city will become the 3rd to host the Games 3 times. The last was in 1984, when Los Angeles was as much of a star as Olympians Carl Lewis and Mary Lou Retton. Olympic organizers will take advantage of a recent building boom in the city, but Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says she'll also sign an executive order to help improve infrastructure in the city.
Because we have a lot of work to do on so many different levels. And it's not like we haven't been doing the work, but now we need to put our foot on the gas.
The nearly new SoFi Stadium will host an opening ceremony that will incorporate the century-old Memorial Coliseum. The region also has much more public transportation than it did in '84, but it's looking to build much more by 2028. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning for Tuesday, August 13th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
A former advisor for President Trump says he may want to tweak his campaign strategy. I'm Clayton Neville.
The U.S. has boosted its military posture in the Middle East. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Ken Paxton says his office is investigating Houston's electric utility over allegations of fraud and waste. I'm Norman Hall.
The federal government is investigating hospitals that have denied emergency care to pregnant women. I'm Jackie Quinn.
President Biden has made his work on student loan debt a campaign priority, but a new poll finds little support. Jennifer King, Washington.
The Trump campaign is in hot water with the family of Isaac Hayes. I'm Kevin Carr.
And John Stolnis has sports. Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Ernesto becomes the 5th named storm in the Atlantic hurricane season. The storm's current track does not have it interfacing with the U.S. More in weather today with the forecast. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Overall, there will still be comfortable weather through the Central Plains with afternoon highs in the 70s and 80s. But the heat is starting to build back into the area from the south and west. Highs will be in the 90s and 100s in portions of Oklahoma into southern Kansas today, with parts of eastern Montana also reaching into the 90s. It will be seasonably hot through Texas along the Gulf Coast states with highs in the 90s and 100s, and there will also be a few thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast from Texas into Florida, possibly some gusty storms in parts of South Texas. Also in the plains for the 3rd day in a row, we're looking at another round of severe thunderstorms. We have another area of low pressure moving out of the northern Rockies today and tonight. These storms will get underway through northern Wyoming and eastern Montana, and then eastward to North and South Dakota into western Nebraska. The main risk for these storms will be damaging winds, but some flash flooding will also be possible. Scattered afternoon thunderstorms will also develop south through the Four Corners area and then westward through portions of central and western Montana into Idaho. There will also be some showers and thunderstorms first thing in the day over eastern Kansas into Missouri from another system moving through that area. We'll have another round of showers and thunderstorms developing again in the Carolinas into northeast Georgia and southern Virginia. That's along a nearly stationary front in the region. Heading out to the west coast, it will once again be largely dry outside of a few scattered afternoon thunderstorms over the mountains. Highs will once again remain comfortable along the coast with 80s, 90s, and 100s over inland locations. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
I'm John Trout. Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. A technically challenging 72 hours for Donald Trump. Heading into the weekend, the former president was alerted by Microsoft that his campaign was the target of a hack. And last night, his anticipated interview with Elon Musk on X was delayed because of what was described as a denial of service attack. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports the vice presidential campaigning continues this week as both J.D. Vance and Tim Walz have events around the nation. Donald Trump pushes back against the new momentum surrounding Vice President Kamala Harris, and both presidential candidates have rallies planned in the coming days.
It was August 6th, a week ago, that Vice President Kamala Harris named Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her running mate in the race for the presidency. He says it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Record crowds of people gathering, and they're joining us for one simple reason. They love the democracy, and they love this country, and as Vice President Harris says, they believe in the promise of America. So we're just getting this thing started.
Walz now breaking off onto the campaign trail solo with an event tomorrow in Denver. It's a fundraising blitz that starts today in L.A. and includes trips to Boston, to Rhode Island, and New York. As far as the presidential candidates are concerned, a recent New York Times Siena College poll showed Harris up 4 points on Trump in 3 battleground states, being Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. As the campaigning ramps up, former Trump White House advisor Peter Navarro talking strategy.
When Trump attacks Harris personally rather than on policy, Harris's support among swing voters rises, particularly among women. It's just a fact of life right now.
Navarro is filling in for Steve Bannon on the War Room podcast and said that Trump's rallies are a feast for rally goers and for TV networks.
Trump doesn't need feast now. He needs votes. And the current rally formula is simply not sufficiently focused on the very stark policy differences between him and Kamala Harris that will swing voters in key battleground states.
Trump accusing the Harris campaign of making photos of her rally crowds bigger than they really are, but reporting backs up the crowd size, and there's no proof of any photoshopping. The former president returned to X, formerly known as Twitter, last night. He had a conversation with the company's CEO, Elon Musk. I'm Clayton Neville.
Israel has been preparing for an attack by Iran, but instead was hit by one coming from the Earth itself. Like LA's 4.5 magnitude earthquake, a magnitude 5 earthquake centered in western Syria shook northern and central Israel, Lebanon, and parts of Jordan Monday night. Officials in Syria reported over 24 people suffered minor injuries, and there was no reported damage in Israel. Meanwhile, the concerns continue to grow that Iran and its proxies will strike Israel sometime this week. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the U.S. is standing by its commitment to the Jewish state, moving more military might into the region.
If Israel is attacked, we certainly will help defend Israel. You saw us do that in April. You can expect to see us do that again.
The U.S. has boosted its military posture in the Middle East, while warning an Iran-backed attack on Israel might happen soon.
We share the same concerns and expectations that our Israeli counterparts have with respect to potential timing here. Could be this week. We're continuing to watch it very, very closely.
White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says it's tough to tell right now what an attack by Iran or its proxies might look like.
It is difficult to ascertain at this particular time if there is an attack by Iran and or its proxies, what that could look like. But we have to be prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks.
Kirby spoke a day after the Pentagon ordered a guided missile sub to the Middle East and told the Lincoln Carrier Strike Group to get there more quickly amid soaring tensions and fears of retaliation after the killings of Hamas's political chief and a senior Hezbollah commander.
We've got significant force capabilities in the region. We've changed some of that posture in just the last few days. The president is confident that we have the capability available to us to help defend Israel should it come to that. Nobody wants to see it come to that.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Back here at home, following deadly and lengthy power outages after Hurricane Beryl, Texas authorities have launched a new investigation into the response of Houston's power utility. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says his office is investigating Houston's electric utility over allegations of fraud and waste following Hurricane Beryl. The probe of CenterPoint Energy adds to the mounting scrutiny after widespread power outages left millions without electricity for days. The Category 1 hurricane knocked out power to nearly 3 million people around the nation's fourth largest city. The storm was blamed for at least 36 deaths, including those of some residents who died in homes that were left without air conditioning in sweltering heat after the storm's passage. CenterPoint has pledged to support the investigation. I'm Norman Hall.
When we return on America in the Morning, President Biden's student loan fiasco after these messages. We're back. This is America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. An Associated Press report finds a number of women pregnant were refused emergency hospital care, in some cases even while bleeding, under the shadow of some state abortion laws. Correspondent Jackie Quinn reports.
I know something wrong happened to me.
The federal government is investigating hospitals that have denied emergency care to pregnant women, even though terminating a pregnancy is allowed under a federal law in emergencies.
I know that my rights were violated. And I should have been given more information from the beginning, more choices from the beginning, and having those be respected.
There's a complaint filed against a Texas hospital in Williamson County, where 25-year-old Kylie Thurman, pregnant and in pain.
I was sent home with an ectopic pregnancy, clearly visible in my ultrasounds.
Sought emergency care.
Was sent home to let it go off inside of me and internally hemorrhage and potentially die, which is, it ruptured and I internally hemorrhaged.
An AP investigation finds more than 100 women didn't get the emergency treatment they needed since 2022, when Roe versus Wade was overturned.
As long as abortion is criminalized, doctors are terrified to provide essential health care to their patients.
Attorney Mark Harron with the Center for Reproductive Rights.
A doctor who provides an abortion in Texas in violation of the ban faces life imprisonment, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, and loss of their medical license.
And analysis shows the refusals are not only in states with strict bans. I'm Jackie Quinn.
It has all the makings of a made-for-TV movie. Correspondent Julie Walker reports on the case of an ex-Las Vegas politician accused of killing a journalist over a story he reported.
The trial of a former politician accused of killing a Las Vegas reporter who was investigating him begins with jury selection. It was September 2022 when Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter Jeff Gehrman was found dead in his yard with several stab wounds. A few days later, Robert Tellis was arrested. Prosecutors say the motive: articles Gehrman wrote about Tellis, who was a Clark County administrator. Surveillance photos and video, along with the description of an SUV, led police to Tellis. They say there's physical evidence and DNA under Gehrman's fingernails. Tellis pled not guilty. I'm Julie Walker.
Millions of borrowers with student loans are now in limbo after a federal court blocked the Biden administration's student loan save plan, which altered payments based on their income and family size. As correspondent Jennifer King reports, a poll finds a majority of Americans are giving the president low marks on how he's handled the issue of student loans.
President Biden has made his work on student loan debt a campaign priority, but a new poll finds little support. Only 3 in 10 Americans approve of how Joe Biden has handled the issue. 4 in 10 disapprove, and the rest are neutral or don't know enough to say. That's according to a survey from the University of Chicago Harris School of Public Policy and the AP NORC Center for Public Affairs Research. The outlook wasn't much better among those with student loans for themselves or their family. 36% approve, while 34% disapprove. About 40% of adults think it's important for the federal government to provide student loan debt relief. That goes up to 50% among Americans under age 45. The administration erased student debt for about 4 million people through existing programs, but a plan for widespread student loan cancellation was struck down by the Supreme Court last year. Jennifer King, Washington.
Just days after the Trump campaign claimed they were hacked by Iranians, after Microsoft notified them their campaign website was under attack, Trump's one-on-one interview on X with Elon Musk started nearly an hour late because of what they claimed was a hack of the site. With a deeper dive into campaign hacking, here's our Chuck Palm with today's tech news.
The FBI stated on Monday that they're opening an investigation after President Trump's campaign said its internal communications were hacked, and the campaign has blamed the Iranian government. The former president said on Saturday that Microsoft had informed his campaign that the Iranians had hacked one of its websites. The FBI is also investigating an alleged hack targeting advisors to the campaign of President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, according to a report from the Washington Post on Monday. That investigation began in June when Biden was still running for president. Trump's campaign pointed to a report on Friday by Microsoft researchers that indicated Iranian-linked hackers tried breaking into the account of high-ranking officials on U.S. presidential campaigns in June. U.S. intelligence officials have seen a ramp-up of Iran using clandestine social media accounts with the aim to use them to try to sow political discord in the United States. Iranian hackers have used password spray operations in the past to gain access to county officials' accounts. Comment at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman has the week off. John Stolness has today's look at sports on America in the Morning.
Center fielder Jarren Duran is having a breakout season for the Boston Red Sox, but will miss his team's next 2 games after being suspended by the league for using a homophobic slur towards a fan who was taunting him from the stands on Sunday. Duran could be heard using the slur on the Red Sox TV broadcast. After the game, he issued an apology through the team, saying he used a truly horrific word and felt awful. Duran was the MVP of the All-Star game this year and is hitting .291 with 14 home runs and 58 RBIs as Boston's leadoff hitter. The Olympics are over, but the controversy over the International Olympic Committee's decision to take the bronze medal away from U.S. gymnast Jordan Childs is still raging. An arbitration panel says they will not reconsider the decision to ask Childs to return the medal she won in the floor exercise. The Court of Arbitration voided an on-floor appeal from Childs' coach that put her in 3rd place, an appeal that came 4 seconds after a 1-minute time limit for scoring inquiries. Team USA coach Cecile Landy says they have proof they first appealed 13 seconds before the deadline. NFL news. Drama just seems to follow the New York Jets. Earlier this offseason, they acquired pass rusher Hassan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles for draft picks, knowing Reddick was seeking a new contract. But the two sides have not reached an agreement on a new deal, with Reddick holding out of training camp. Now, Reddick is asking the Jets to trade him. General Manager Joe Douglas says they have no intention of honoring that request. Meanwhile, star quarterback Aaron Rodgers says in a new book that he regrets telling reporters he had been immunized against the COVID-19 virus in 2021 when he hadn't. He tested positive 3 months later, sidelining him for 10 days. And that's your look at sports.
It sure is. Thank you, John. When we return on America in the Morning, musicians' rights over blasting campaign rally music. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. It's music versus politics. The 2024 election will have implications on an important night in music. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports that MTV is moving the night of its Video Music Awards presentation, which was scheduled at the same time as the U.S. presidential debate.
The MTV Video Music Awards were set for September 10th, but then last week, ABC News confirmed that the campaigns of Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump had agreed to a debate on that same day. The VMAs are now set for September 11th and will air live from UBS Arena outside New York. Taylor Swift leads the nominees with 10. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Music and elections. Unauthorized use of songs is fast becoming a new political battleground. Kevin Carr explains.
Donald Trump's campaign is facing a potential lawsuit over the use of a song. The campaign has been playing Hold On, I'm Coming at its rallies. However, the family of Isaac Hayes, who co-wrote the piece, is demanding he stop and pay up for unauthorized past use. Isaac Hayes III explained on X that his family has full control of his father's song.
The copyright to Hold On, I'm Coming expired March 15, 2022. It returned to our family on that date.
The Hayes family lawyer sent a letter this weekend demanding the Trump campaign cease use and to pay $3 million for 134 instances over the past 2 years. The letter gave until August 16th to comply. Artists taking issue with Trump's campaign is nothing new. So many artists have objected to the use of their material that it has its own Wikipedia page. Similarly, at a rally in Bozeman, Montana this weekend, the Trump campaign played the music video of Celine Dion's hit, My Heart Will Go On. Dion's management swiftly rebuked the former president's campaign with a social media post stating, quote, "In no way is this use authorized." It ended its statement with, quote, "And really? That song?" apparently questioning why a political campaign would play a song from a film about an infamous sinking ship. I'm Kevin Carr.
The latest animal-themed work of London's mystery artist is hitting streets in the UK. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
The latest is in Charlton in southeast London. The mural is of a rhinoceros that looks like it's mounting a broken-down car parked in front of the building. This adds to the recent Banksy collection that includes elephants, a goat, a wolf, and pelicans. A day earlier, Banksy claimed another artwork depicting piranhas, which appeared on a police box near the Central Criminal Court known as the Old Bailey in London. Banksy began his career spray painting buildings in Bristol, England. His work is sold for millions of dollars at auction, and past murals on outdoor sites have often been stolen or removed by building owners soon after they go up. I'm Ed Donahue.
That's our show for today, Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.